Snow fell thick and silent outside the frosted glass window of Whitaker and Associates, the only law office on Main Street that still smelled of pipe, tobacco, and pine. I sat on the edge of the old leather chair, my boots soaked through and dripping onto the Navajo rug. My eyes stung from crying, but not a single tear had fallen since the funeral. Not in front of Liam. He was typing a text when I walked in, thumbs flying like the screen owed him money. Tom Ford's suit, no tie, collar open just enough to show the gold chain, something Dad would have called flashy. His Apple Watch buzzed. He silenced it without looking. Late as usual, he said, eyes still on the screen. Someone's got to inherit an empire, right? I didn't answer. 20 months of changing IV bags at 3 a.m., holding Dad's hand while morphine dripped, whispering, "I'm here," when he forgot my name. Nothing prepared me for this room. The air was thick with old paper and endings. James Whitaker cleared his throat behind the desk. 62, born in Montana, voice like gravel under truck tires. He drafted Dad's first will when I was still in pigtails. Now, he adjusted his glasses and opened a folder thick enough to stop a bullet. "Let's begin," he said. Liam finally pocketed his phone. He leaned back, arms crossed, looking like a man who'd already won. Whitaker's voice was steady. "To my son Liam Frank Harper, I leave Harper Construction Company, founded 1987, including all equipment contracts, real estate and intellectual property. Annual revenue approximately $12 million. 45 full-time employees." Liam's lips curved into the smile he'd perfected in Manhattan boardrooms. He gave a small golf clap. "Thanks for the vote of confidence, Dad." I stared at the rug. 12 million. 45 families would have Christmas because of Dad's company. Last spring I'd helped him balance the books when chemo made his hands too shaky to type. I knew every line. Whitaker turned the page. "To my daughter Emma Grace Harper, I leave the Harper family ranch consisting of 200 acres in Gallatin County, including the main house built in 1904, all outbuildings, water rights and associated mineral rights." The room went quieter than the snow outside. Liam let out a sharp laugh. "A museum. Perfect. Congrats on the dusty old house, sis. I get the empire." I felt the words like a slap, but I didn't flinch. I'd heard worse from him this past year. Every time he flew in for 48 hours, took Dad to one appointment, then vanished back to his Central Park View apartment. "You're doing God's work," he'd say, patting my shoulder like I was the help. Whitaker raised a finger. "Actually, Liam, there's an addendum." The word hung in the air like gun smoke. Liam's smile vanished. "What addendum?" Whitaker slid a single sheet across the desk. "Dated 6 months ago, Dad's signature shaky but clear. The addendum is a codicil to the will executed with the same formalities. Your father added this after his final hospitalization." He began reading aloud. "In the event either party wishes to sell, transfer or encumber the mineral rights attached to the Harper family ranch within 7 years of my death, such transaction shall require the written consent of Emma Grace Harper, who shall serve as trustee of the Harper Mineral Trust. During this period, Liam Harper is prohibited from selling, merging or encumbering more than 20% of Harper Construction Company without the same consent." Liam shot to his feet. "You've got to be kidding me." He was on fentanyl. His judgment. Completely sound. Whitaker cut in. He produced a second document, sealed in plastic. "Capacity evaluation by Dr. Rachel Chen, Billings Clinic, dated 4 months ago. Your father scored 29 out of 30 on the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. He knew exactly what he was doing." I couldn't breathe. Mineral rights. Dad had never mentioned them. Not once in 20 months at his bedside. Liam's face cycled red, white, then purple, like when the Broncos blew it in the fourth quarter. "What mineral rights? That land's been fallow since Grandpa lost the cattle in '78. Whitaker opened a third folder. Inside was a glossy geological survey color-coded like a topographical map. A thick red vein ran beneath the north pasture labeled Lee 7 anomaly, high-grade lithium brine. The blood pounded in my ears. Preliminary estimates, Whitaker said, place this deposit at approximately $1.2 billion at current market value. Big Sky Lithium has held exploration rights since 2012. They submitted a buyout offer 3 weeks ago. $380 million cash plus 2% royalty for 30 years. Liam's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. I found my voice. Dad knew. Whitaker nodded. He signed the lease himself. quietly. Annual payments $75,000 kept the construction company afloat during the 2020 recession. Your father didn't want either of you to know until he was gone. He was afraid of what greed would do to this family. Liam finally spoke. You knew about this, you sat there for 2 years, and I didn't know, I said. My voice cracked like thin ice. I thought the ranch was just a ranch. Whitaker closed the folder. The codicil stands. Emma controls the mineral trust. Liam, you control the company, but you can't sell it or any part of it without her signature. For 7 years. Liam looked at me like I'd grown a second head. You're joking. You're a nurse, Emma. You can't even balance your own checkbook. I met his eyes. Dad trusted me to balance his. Outside, the snow kept falling, covering the tire tracks from Liam's rented Suburban. Inside, the temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Whitaker gathered the papers. I need signatures on the acknowledgement. Then we discuss next steps. Liam didn't move. This isn't over. No, I said softly. It's just beginning. The codicil sat between us like a loaded gun. And for the first time in 20 months I wasn't the one holding someone's hand. The smell of antiseptic and burning pine filled the ranch living room. September in Montana was still warm, but Dad was cold from the inside. Frank Harper lay in the hospital bed we'd set up by the big window. He wanted to see the Bridgers every morning, even if only as shadows. I'd just changed his oxygen bag and checked the heart monitor. Dad waved a frail hand. Come here. I sat on the edge of the bed taking his hand, the hand that once flew Hueys over rice paddies, now just skin over bone. He pulled an old brass key from under his pillow, scratched and worn, stamped H62. Don't ask now, he rasped, voice like wind through dry grass. When I'm gone, if Liam tries to sell anything, land, equipment, anything tied to the ranch, take this key to James Whitaker first. Promise me. I nodded. I promise. He looked at me for a long time, eyes cloudy but sharp. You're the only one I trust to keep that promise. I didn't understand. Liam was the oldest, the natural heir. He'd left Bozeman at 18, got his business degree at NYU, now ran a venture fund in Manhattan. I was just an ER nurse from Seattle, home because Dad needed care. Is Dad hiding something from Liam? I asked. He pressed his lips together, coughed. Something big. Something that could destroy the family if it falls into the wrong hands. I started to ask more, but the plumber's truck rumbled into the yard. Dad quickly pressed the key into my palm. Keep it safe. Don't let Liam see. I slipped the key into his old Vietnam-era cigarette tin, the one etched with a UH-1 helicopter. 3 days later I found Dad in the old office, a room he hadn't entered since getting sick. He sat in the brown leather armchair, desk lamp glowing over a thick stack of documents. Close the door, he said. I did. He pushed the papers toward me. The top page read Mineral Rights Lease Agreement, 50 years, signed the 15th of March 2012. Lessee Big Sky Lithium Corporation, Denver, Colorado. Lithium, I read aloud. We have lithium under the ground. Dad nodded slowly. Discovered in 2011 when they drilled for groundwater. Not hard rock brine. The best kind for electric car batteries. Big Sky pays $75,000 a year to keep it quiet and keep exploring. I flipped through. A geological map showed the brine vein running beneath the north pasture, 300 meters deep. Dad's handwritten note, do not tell Liam. Not ready. Why hide it from him? I asked. Dad looked out the window where sunset bled red across the mountains. Remember last year, when Liam came home, he wanted to sell 30 acres by the creek for a resort. I said no. He sulked for 3 days. If he knew about lithium, he'd sell the whole ranch to a Chinese fund in a week. I went quiet. Liam always called the ranch dead weight. He wanted Harper Construction to go national, not stay a local outfit building homes for ranchers. I signed an NDA, he continued. Can't disclose to anyone, even family. But I added a clause, buyout rights belong to the ranch heir. That means you. I don't know anything about mining. You know how to listen to the land, Dad said. Liam only listens to money. He pulled an envelope from the drawer, sealed, marked, for Emma, open only after I'm gone. Don't open it now, he warned. But when you do, you'll understand why I chose you. That night I sat by the fireplace, the brass key heavy in my palm. Outside, the Montana wind howled across the dry grass. I thought of Liam in New York, probably drinking martinis in a rooftop bar. He didn't know Dad had months left. He didn't know beneath our feet was a lithium deposit that could change the state. I put the key back in the cigarette tin and locked it in my nightstand drawer. Dad dozed off in the armchair, breathing shallow. I tucked a blanket around him and whispered, "I'll keep the promise." Outside the window, the first snow of the season began to fall, soft like a warning. Part 3. The funeral. The insult 800 words. Title of the part: The BBQ that wasn't Dad's. The smell of industrial barbecue wafted across the ranch backyard, black smoke billowing from 3 portable rigs Liam had rented from Billings. Dad hated barbecue like this. He always said meat needs applewood smoke, not propane and bottled sauce. But Liam didn't ask anyone. He just texted Texas-style funeral. Classy. I stood in the corner of the yard clutching a cold coffee, watching strangers. Investors from San Francisco in Patagonia fleece Seattle VCs handing out business cards. None of them had ever met Dad. They were here for Liam. He stood in the middle of the crowd, gray suit, grinning at a bearded VC. Harper Construction is mine now. 12 million revenue, 20% growth year over year. The ranch. He shrugged, voice carrying like he was on stage. A tax write-off. I'll sell it to expand. Laughter rippled. I gripped my cup so hard coffee sloshed. Mary Two Bears appeared beside me like a ghost. She wore a traditional Salish wool coat, silver hair tied back, eyes sharp as knives. "Come with me," she said, pulling me toward the old horse barn where Dad taught me to ride when I was 8. The barn was dark, smelling of hay and leather. She shut the door, blocking the loud country music from the yard. "Your father said you're the only one who listens to the land," she whispered. He was right. "Mary, She raised a hand. "He left something for you. In the old feed trough." I knelt, pushed aside the rotten hay. At the bottom was a rusted tin box, ale box, the kind that once held World War II ammo. I pried it open. Inside, a folded geological map dated the 15th of March 2012, red marker on the lithium brine vein. A small note in Dad's shaky handwriting. "For Emma only. Trust no one. F. H." My heart pounded. I'd never seen this map. Dad had hidden it so well, even Liam, who'd torn apart the office looking for company papers, never found it. Mary placed a hand on my shoulder. "This land belonged to the Salish before white people came. Your father knew that. He kept the secret to protect it." I tucked the tin into my coat pocket. "Liam will sell if he finds out." "Exactly," she said. "He chose you because you won't." I walked back to the yard. Liam was taking selfies with a woman in a leather dress, #number family business. I stepped close. "You hired a country band?" I asked. He smirked. "Dad liked Johnny Cash. This is the modern version." "Dad hated propane barbecue." "What did you want? A bonfire and ghost stories?" His lip curled. "Come on, you were here 2 years just wiping his ass. Now it's my turn to turn Harper Construction into a real empire." A VC butted in. "Heard you're selling the ranch. I've got partners in Shanghai interested in lithium." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Lithium? In Montana?" The guy grinned. "Oh, you didn't know, the biggest lithium deposit in North America is right under your feet." Liam whipped around to me. "You knew about this?" I shook my head. "No." But the tin in my pocket felt like lead. Mary stood by the barn door watching me. I nodded slightly. She smiled, the smile of someone who knew the secret had been passed to the right person. Liam clapped the VC on the shoulder. "If there's lithium, I'll sell inside a month. Harper Construction needs cash to scale." I turned away before he saw my hands shake. The funeral ended at dusk. The BBQ trucks left, leaving the yard littered with beer cans and the smell of burnt mesquite. I stood alone by Dad's grave, a simple granite slab engraved Frank Harper 1957 to 2025, loved the land. I whispered, "I'll keep the promise." The Montana wind blew across the field, carrying the scent of dry grass and coming snow. I pushed open the door to Whitaker and Associates at 9 sharp Monday morning, 2 days after the funeral. The snow had stopped, but Bozeman was still freezing. I wore Dad's old sweater, clutching the rusted tin from the barn. Whitaker stood from his desk and nodded. "Emma, I've been expecting you." He led me to the small windowless conference room in back, steel safe, burnt coffee smell. He locked the door, then opened the safe with a key on his belt. Your father's brass key, he said, stepping aside. Opens this. I pulled the H62 key from my pocket. It fit perfectly. The steel door creaked open, revealing 3 thick folders. Whitaker laid them on the oak table. Folder 1, 2012 Lease Agreement. Cover Non-Disclosure Agreement and Mineral Lease, 50 years. Signed the 15th of March 2012. Lessee Big Sky Lithium Corporation, Denver CO. Lessor Frank Harper, sole owner. Paiement $75,000 divisé par year due après l'an. Confidentiality clause, no disclosure to any third party, including family. I flipped through. 13 years $975,000 total flowed into a separate account I'd never seen. Your father used this money to meet payroll in 2020, Whitaker said. When the pandemic shut down every job site. Folder 2, 2024 Geological Report. Hardcover Big Sky logo. Confidential. Harper Ranch Lithium Brine Project. June 2024 Drilling results. Brine vein spanning 180 acres. Lease 7 concentration is greater than 200 mg per liter, highest in North America. Estimated reserves $1.2 billion at current market. Tesla GM Ford batteries. Tresdi map vein runs under North Pasture da Sensuitanta, 320 meters deep, no impact on surface aquifers. My hands shook. Dad knew since when? Since 2011, Whitaker answered. But this report only came in June. He asked me to keep it sealed until he passed. Folder 3, Buyout Offer. Dated the 18th of October 2025 from Dr. Maylin, VP Acquisitions, Big Sky Lithium. Dear Mr. Frank Harper. We offer to purchase outright all lithium extraction rights on the 200-acre Harper Ranch for $380 million USD cash plus 2% royalty on extraction revenue for 30 years. Construction start Q3 over 2026. Payment within 72 hours of signing. I did the math. 2% royalty on $1.2 billion, $24 million divided by year for 30 years, total $720 million. Your father turned down an immediate sale, Whitaker said. He was afraid Liam would find out. He opened a drawer and pulled out the codicil, a single sheet signed the 12th of April 2025. Addendum. Emma Grace Harper is sole trustee of the Harper Mineral Trust. Any transaction involving lithium rights within 7 years of my death requires Emma's signed consent. Liam Harper prohibited from selling is greater than 20% of Harper Construction without same consent. Reason, I asked. Whitaker sighed. In 2022, Liam sold 40% of the construction company to Ironwood Capital, a New York private equity fund, to scale fast. He needed $4 million cash to open a Denver branch. Your father refused to loan from family funds. I remembered. Liam had screamed at Dad over the phone from Manhattan. This is the deal of the century, you're holding me back. Your father was afraid, Whitaker continued, if Liam knew about the lithium he'd sell it all to China. Ironwood has partners in Shanghai. A U.S. lithium brine deposit is gold, they'd pay $500 million without further surveys. I stared at the map. The vein ran right by the old horse barn where Mary said the land belongs to the Salish. Your father wanted the land to stay in Harper hands, Whitaker said. But only with someone who understood its value. He slid a sealed envelope across the table. For Emma, open only after I'm gone. I tore it open. Inside. Big Sky buyout contract. Dad had already signed his part, only needing the heir's signature. Dad's handwritten letter. Dearest Emma. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Lithium isn't money, it's leverage. Use it to keep the land in Harper hands for another 100 years. Liam will learn patience the hard way. Don't let him sell. Love. Dad. I folded the letter, tears falling onto the oak table. Whitaker placed a hand on my shoulder. You have 7 years to decide. But from now on, every move Liam makes needs your signature. I looked out the window. Snow was falling again, soft, but now I knew beneath it lay $1 billion bomb. I walked into Whitaker's office at 9:45 a.m. the following Wednesday. The snow had melted into slush on Bozeman's sidewalks, but the air inside was still ice cold. Liam had arrived 10 minutes early. He stood at the door, 3 black-suited New York lawyers lined up behind him like bodyguards. A sharp woman with short hair holding an iPad, 2 tall men with alligator briefcases. Emma, Liam said, voice sweet as honey laced with venom. We need to clear a few things up before the second reading. Whitaker was already seated behind the oak desk, hand on the thick folder. He nodded at me, then looked straight at Liam. The reading begins at 10. Not before. The short-haired lawyer, Cassandra Holt Esquire Cravath Swain, stepped forward. Our client has reason to believe the original will was altered while Mr. Frank Harper was under the influence of pain medication. We demand full medical records and capacity review. Liam crossed his arms. Dad was on high-dose fentanyl. He wasn't competent to sign anything after March. I stayed silent. The tin in my coat pocket felt like lead. Whitaker didn't flinch. He pulled an old iPhone 13 from his drawer, Dad's phone before the hospital. Frank anticipated this reaction. He asked me to play this video before proceeding. He set the phone in the center of the table and pressed play. The screen lit up. Dad sat in the brown leather armchair in the office, dated the 12th of April 2025. He was thin, but his eyes were clear. Voice raspy but firm. This is Frank Harper speaking of my own free will. I know Liam will question my capacity. I am lucid. I've been evaluated by my doctor. This video is evidence. He looked straight into the camera. Liam, you build skyscrapers. Emma builds lives. The land stays with her. Don't try to sell the lithium. It's not for you to blow in a year, it's to keep Harper in Montana for another century. The video stopped. The room was graveyard quiet. Liam flushed red. He was coerced. Who filmed this? I did, Whitaker replied. In front of a nurse and doctor. Signed witnesses. Cassandra Holt raised a hand. We still demand an independent psychiatric report. Whitaker slid a sealed packet across the table. Psychiatric evaluation, Dr. Rachel Chen, MD, Billings Clinic, dated the 10th of April 2025. Montreal Cognitive Assessment, MoCA 29/30. Conclusion: Mr. Harper is fully competent to make complex legal, financial, and testamentary decisions. Liam slammed the table. This is manipulation. You were with him 2 years, whispering in his ear every night. I spoke for the first time. How many times did you visit Dad in those 2 years, Liam? He went silent. Whitaker opened the official will plus codicil. He read aloud, voice steady as a machine. Part A. To Liam Frank Harper. 100% of Harper Construction Company. Prohibited from selling, merging, or encumbering is greater than 20% of assets for 7 years without signed consent of Emma Grace Harper. Liam smirked. Fine. I still have the company. Whitaker turned the page. Part B. To Emma Grace Harper. Harper Family Ranch, 200 acres including main house, outbuildings, water rights. All current and future lithium extraction rights. Absolute veto power over any lithium-related transaction for 7 years. Emma is sole trustee of Harper Mineral Trust. Cassandra Holt jumped up. This is unlawful. You can't bind assets like this. Whitaker smiled coldly. Perfectly legal under Montana Code Annotated Section 722617. Family Asset Anti-Sale Clause upheld by the Montana Supreme Court in 1998. Liam lunged at the table, pointing at me. You manipulated a dying old man. Whitaker played a second video Dad recorded the 15th of April 2025, 2 days before he passed. If Liam says Emma manipulated me, remember, she gave up her job in Seattle, her boyfriend, her life to be here. Liam flew in 3 times, stayed 2 days each. Who manipulated whom? Liam slumped into his chair. Whitaker pushed the acknowledgement form toward him. Sign here to accept the will. Or we go to court. The 3 lawyers whispered. Cassandra nodded. Liam signed, his signature shaky. I signed next. My hand didn't tremble. Liam stood, suit wrinkled. This isn't the end. Whitaker closed the folder. No. It's the beginning. The conference room door opened. Montana sunlight poured in, cold but clear. I went down to the ranch basement at midnight, flashlight on my phone cutting through cobwebs and old wooden crates. Dad had said the safe was behind the old fireplace where your mom liked to toast bread on Sunday nights. I entered the code 0628 Mom and Dad's wedding date. The steel door creaked open. Inside 3 hardcover folders, a black USB drive, and an envelope marked Marcus Vega, do not open until necessary. I carried everything up to the office and turned on the desk lamp. Folder ENA, Vega file. Cover internal investigation, Harper construction fraud 2018 to 2021. Marcus Vega Petin Pedisat former partner since 2005. Method fake invoices for non-existent projects funneled through Wyoming shell companies. Total damage $4.8 million, enough to bankrupt the company if not caught. Dad's handwritten note, caught Vega March 2021. No police. Bought out his share. Folder 2, buyout agreement. Dated the 10th of May, 2021. Frank Harper buys back Vega's 30% stake for $3 million. Funding source advance from lithium lease. Big Sky agreed to early payment 0% interest for 5 years. Confidential clause. Vega barred from contacting Harper family for 10 years. I did the math. $3 million minus $975,000 already received from lease. Dad borrowed $2 million from the future to save the company. Folder 3. Email leak. The USB held over 200 emails between Liam and Marcus. Vega at protonmail.com. First email, the 2nd of August 2024, Liam heard Dad's fading. Opportunity to scale Harper construction after he's gone. UN as COO. Most recent, the 1st of November 2025, Vega, I've got partners in Shanghai ready to pay $500 million for the lithium. You sign, I handle the rest. I froze. Liam had been in contact with Vega for 14 months while Dad was still alive. I opened the final envelope. Inside. Private investigator report hired September 2024. Vega living in Cayman Islands. $12 million offshore. Real partner, China National Lithium Group CNLG, state-owned Chinese company. Plan acquire U.S. lithium via proxies. Skirt export ban on battery tech. Secret recording. Dad March Hugo to Hugo Fem. Vega's voice on speaker. Frank, you're old. Sell the lithium. I can broker $450 million. You keep the company, I keep a cut. Dad, you stole $4.8 million. Now you want to steal my family's land. Vega. Liam will agree. He needs cash to pay Ironwood. I stopped the recording. Liam owed Ironwood Capital, the fund that bought 40% of the company in 2022. He needed cash fast. The next morning I called Whitaker. Who's Vega? I asked. He was quiet a moment. An enemy inside the house. Your father bought him out to avoid prison. But he never let go. And Liam? Whitaker sighed. Liam didn't know Vega stole. He just saw a former COO with connections in China. I sent him the USB. Forward to FBI billings. I want Vega watched. That afternoon, Liam knocked on the ranch door. No lawyers, no suit. Just a sweater and jeans. You know about Vega yet? He asked the second I opened the door. I nodded. You emailed him for 14 months. Liam sank onto the sofa. He messaged first. Said he could help scale the company after Dad passed. You think I knew he stole? No. But you knew Dad hated him. Liam hung his head. I needed money to pay Ironwood. They want another $2 million by year end. I set the USB on the table. Vega wanted to use you to sell lithium to China. Liam stared at the drive like it was a bomb. What are you going to do? Keep the land. Keep the family. And keep you out of prison. He gave a bitter laugh. You hate me that much? No. Dad chose me to protect you. Liam stood, looked out the window. Vega texted this morning. Asked about the Big Sky meeting next week. I stiffened. You answered. Not yet. And now never. Outside, the Montana wind howled across the fields. The enemy inside the house had been exposed, and this time I was ready. I sat alone in Dad's office, the only light the desk lamp in the dark ranch. Third night after the second will reading. Montana wind screamed outside the window, carrying the smell of coming snow. On the desk was a sealed envelope from the basement safe marked Emma. Open alone. I sliced it open with Dad's old hunting knife. Inside 3 sheets of lined paper written in 2B pencil handwriting, shaky but legible. Dad wrote these in his final days when his hands couldn't hold a pen anymore. Page 1. Dearest Emma. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Lithium isn't money, it's leverage. Use it to keep the land in Harper hands for another 100 years. Liam will learn patience the hard way. Don't let him sell. Not because he's unworthy but because he's not ready. You are. I stopped breathing. Page 2. Blonde Bay. If Liam attempts to sell the company or lithium without you, Whitaker has documents transferring 51% of Harper Construction into the Harper Irrevocable Trust. Truste Emma Grace Harper. Term 25 years or until Madison granddaughter turns 30. Purpose: protect 45 worker families and protect Liam from himself. Documents in safe deposit box at First Security Bank, Bozeman code 0628. I remembered Madison, Liam's daughter, 8 years old, living with her mom in Manhattan. Page 3. Emma. You once asked why I didn't split it evenly. Because equal is fair but not wise. Liam has business talent, but he measures success in dollars. You measure it in legacy. When you were 10, you saved 6 months of birthday money to buy your mom that pearl necklace. Liam blew his in a week on a new bike. I knew then you understand the difference between want and need. Lithium is what we need to keep the land, keep the people, keep Montana. If you sell, the money will be gone in 10 years. If you keep it, it feeds generations. I'm proud of you, not for nursing me, but for nursing what matters. Love. Dad. P.S. Keep Vega away from Liam. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I folded the letter, tears falling onto the oak desk. I opened the safe deposit box at the bank the next morning. Whitaker came with me. Inside. Irrevocable trust documents already signed by Dad, only needing my signature to activate. $2 million loan agreement from Big Sky Lithium Dad used to buy out Vega. Final recording, Dad, the 18th of October 2025. If Liam tries to sell, activate the trust, Emma will save him like she saved me. Whitaker placed a hand on my shoulder. Do you want to activate now? Not yet, I said. Give Liam a chance to learn on his own. That afternoon, Liam knocked. His face was pale. You read Dad's letter? He asked. I nodded. He sat on the sofa, hands shaking. I found old emails. Vega texted last week, said he could help pay Ironwood by selling lithium. I almost agreed. Liam, did you know Vega stole $4.8 million? He shook his head. I thought it was an old misunderstanding. Dad hated change. I handed him a copy of the Vega file. He read, face going white. I was going to offer him COO, he whispered. He'd have gutted the company in 6 months. And sold the land to China, I said. Liam looked out the window where snow had started falling. Dad was right. I'm not ready. He stood, held out his hand. You keep the lithium. I keep the company. But from now on, every big decision together. I shook it. For the first time in 20 years, his hand wasn't cold. That night, I stood by Dad's grave. Snow covered the granite. Dad, I whispered, I'll keep the promise. The wind answered, soft like Dad nodding. I woke at 4:45 a.m., to knocking soft but urgent. Not wind or branches. I turned on the hall light, grabbed Dad's old hunting rifle from the rack. Through the frosted glass, I saw Liam's silhouette alone, no rented Suburban, no lawyers. Just a wool coat and a paper coffee cup from the gas station. I opened the door. Cold wind rushed in. Can I come in? He asked, voice hoarse from the cold. I stepped aside. Liam walked in, leaving wet boot prints on the pine floor. He set the coffee on the kitchen table, sat in Dad's old chair. I drove from the airport at 3. Didn't sleep. I said nothing. Just poured hot water, set it in front of him. Liam looked around the kitchen, unchanged oak table, Mom wiped every morning, cracked fireplace, faint smell of cookies from the old oven. I was wrong, he said, not looking at me. About everything. About Vega. About Dad. About you. I sat across from him. You know how much Vega stole? $4.8 million. He answered immediately. I read the file you sent. And I almost brought him back. He pulled out his phone, opened the last email from Vega sent 2:14 a.m. yesterday. Subject final offer, $550 million from Shanghai. Liam Ironwood is strangling you. Sign the brokerage agreement. I wire $50 million to Cayman in 24 hours. Lithium will be ours. Liam deleted it in front of me. Blocked his number. Deleted everything. I nodded. Good. But not enough. He looked up. I want to buy the main house. Not the lithium land, just the house and 5 acres around it. Fair market price. I'll move back to Montana, run Harper Construction Dad's way. I raised an eyebrow. Dad's way means what? No fire sales. No layoffs. Build homes for Montanans, not mansions for California millionaires. He slid a handwritten sheet across the table, shaky but legible. Proposal from Liam Harper. Emma keeps all lithium rights and remaining 180 acres. Liam buys main house plus 5 acres for $1.2 million independent appraisal. Liam lives in the house 3 years, learns company operations from old crew, no solo big decisions. No secrets, all emails, calls, contracts shared via joint Google Drive. If Liam violates, Emma has right to activate 51% trust. I read it, set it down. Why now? Liam looked out the window. Dawn read over the bridgers. Madison video called last night. She asked, Daddy, are you coming home for Christmas? I realized. I don't have a home. Just a Manhattan apartment and a $2 million debt to Ironwood. He pulled a photo from his wallet. Madison, 8, blonde hair, gap-toothed grin. She's never seen Montana snow. I want her to grow up here. Like we did. I was quiet a long time. I'll resign from the fund, he continued. Sell my shares, pay Ironwood clean. I stood, opened the fridge, pulled 2 Coors, Dad's favorite. I popped the cap, slid one across. 3 years, I said. You take your old room. No lawyers. No Vega. Not one brick sold without my signature. Liam clinked his bottle against mine. 3 years. And after? After, if you've learned patience, we split company profits evenly. But lithium stays mine. He nodded. Deal. We signed the proposal right on the kitchen table with Dad's 2B pencil. Liam fell asleep on the sofa at 6 a.m. I tucked a blanket around him like I did for Dad in his final days. I walked to the horse barn called Mary Two Bears. Liam's home, I said. He wants to stay. She smiled. The land knows who to choose. That afternoon Liam moved into his old room, still had his Bozeman High football posters. He opened his laptop, created a shared drive. Harper family, 2. First email he shared from Ironwood Capital demanding $2 million by 12/31. I replied immediately. Will be paid from sale of venture fund shares. Company assets untouched. Liam looked at me, eyes red from no sleep. You sure? Sure, I said. Family doesn't sell cheap. That night, we stood in the yard. Snow fell soft. Liam breathed deep. First Montana snow I've seen in 19 years, he said. Welcome home, I replied. He smiled, the first real one in years. The phone rang at 3 a.m. Friday, unknown number plus 86 country code. I almost silenced it, but nurse instinct said answer. Emma Harper, smooth male voice, confident. Marcus Vega here. We need to talk about the lithium. I sat up. Liam snoring in the next room. Where are you? I asked. Shanghai. But I can be in Bozeman in 24 hours. I have an offer for you. I put it on speaker, started recording. Talk. Vega chuckled. Big Sky's only offering $380 million child's play. I have partners in Beijing ready to pay $500 million cash plus 3% royalty. I take 18% brokerage, $68 million. You still walk with $432 million, enough to buy the whole state. I gripped the phone. You're barred from contacting the Harper family for 10 years. Frank's dead, he said coldly. Contract died with him. Sign with me, or I guarantee Big Sky walks. I have ways. He hung up. I called Special Agent Sarah, Red Eagle FBI Billings. We'd met last week after I sent the USB email leak. Vega just called from Shanghai, I said. He wants $68 million. Sarah laughed over the phone. He just handed himself over. Invite him. We'll be waiting. Saturday afternoon Vega landed in Bozeman at 2. He drove a rented black Range Rover straight to the ranch. I stood on the porch in my sheepskin coat, hands in pockets. Liam watched through the window. Vega stepped out, gray suit, silk tie, white tooth smile. Emma. You look more like Frank than I expected. Into the horse barn, I said. Don't want to dirty the house. He shrugged, followed me across the yard. The old barn smell of hay, leather, and history. Inside, I pointed to the old workbench where Dad used to repair saddles. On it a fake contract I'd printed last night showing $500 million from Beijing Lithium Holdings. Vega opened his briefcase. Sign here, I wire $50 million deposit now. I slid Big Sky's real contract across. I already signed with Big Sky, $380 million plus 2% royalty. Done. Vega's face darkened. You're an idiot. Beijing will pay double. I have. The barn door burst open. Sarah, Red Eagle, and 3 FBI agents stepped in, sidearms visible. Marcus Vega, Sarah said, flashing her badge. You're under arrest for interstate fraud, conspiracy, extortion, and violating export controls on sensitive technology. Hands behind your back. Vega jumped up, chair crashing. You have no evidence. Sarah tossed the USB onto the table. Evidence right here, 14 months of emails with Liam Harper, 3 calls from Shanghai. And the fake contract you just brought. 2 agents grabbed Vega's arms. He thrashed, screaming, You'll never close the deal without me. I have people at the Department of Energy. Sarah cuffed him in the middle of the horse barn. Save it. He was dragged out to the FBI SUV, screaming until his voice gave out. That night the doorbell rang. A woman about 50, silver bob, old coat, Clara, Vega, Marcus's ex-wife. I'm not here to save him, she said, the second I opened the door. I'm here to warn you. She handed me a silver USB. List of 11 families Marcus ruined from 2015 to now. He targets big assets, naive heirs. You were number 12. I plugged it in. Thompson family, Wyoming, lost $8 million oil lease. Nguyen family, Oregon, lost $12 million timber mill. Each family, 1 fake brokerage contract, 1 manipulated oldest son. Clara sat down. He started with me in 2008. I was the company accountant. He tricked me into moving $2 million offshore. I did 18 months. When I got out he had a new wife. She looked at me. You stopped him before he destroyed another family. Thank you. Monday I met Sarah, Red Eagle, at FBI headquarters in Billings. Vega's singing, she said. He was working for CNLG, Chinese state-owned lithium company. Goal grab you. Lithium before the export ban hits January 2026. And the 11 families. We're contacting them. Vega faces 11 federal fraud counts. Could be 25 years. That night, Liam and I sat by the fireplace. I almost handed the family to a wolf, he said. But you didn't, I replied. Dad chose me to protect you. Now you can protect yourself. Liam opened his laptop, created a new folder, Harper Anti-Fraud Protocol. Rule 1. Every new partner gets FBI background check. Rule 2, never sign a loan. I got a letter from Clara, a week later, thank you. First good night's sleep in 15 years. I stood in the horse barn where Vega was cuffed. Snow fell soft. Not just protecting us, I whispered. Protecting everyone. 3 black SUVs pulled up to the ranch gate at 8 Tuesday morning. Snow melted into mud under the tires. Dr. Mei Lin stepped out, first woman, about 40, black hair, in a neat bun, North Face coat, hiking boots. PhD geology from Stanford, Taiwanese roots, soft voice but sharp. Behind her, a team of 9 lawyers, extraction engineers, environmental experts, and an interpreter, even though Dr. Lin's English was perfect. Liam stood beside me on the porch, coffee in hand. They look like a Hollywood crew, he whispered. I wore Dad's old sweater, jeans, boots. No suit. No lawyers. Just Big Sky's contract from last week and the geological map spread on the kitchen table. Dr. Lin shook my hand. Miss Harper. Thank you for hosting us at home. We want to see the land with our own eyes. We went into the living room. I'd cleared family photos, just the big oak table and fireplace. On the table, 3 printed financial models, each 40 pages thick. Dr. Lin opened her laptop, projected a 3D map of the lithium vein onto the wall. We've drilled 18 exploratory wells. Results exceed expectations, reserves $1.2 billion at current pricing. She pointed to option 1, outright sale. $380 million USD cash. Payment in 72 hours. Big Sky owns all extraction rights. You keep surface land, no royalty. Safe, she said. You get cash now, no market risk. Liam raised an eyebrow. But no long-term income. Dr. Lin nodded. Exactly. Option 2, 50-year lease. $50 million divided by year plus 3% royalty on extraction revenue. Projected total $2.5 billion over 50 years. Big Sky covers all operating costs. Less control, she warned. But highest payout if lithium prices rise. I flipped the page. Lithium had dropped 80% in 2023. Big risk. Option 3, hybrid. $200 million USD cash within 30 days. 2.5% royalty for 40 years. Projected total $1.1 billion. Big Sky funds $10 million Environmental Protection Fund. Dr. Lin looked at me. This is our recommended option. Balances immediate cash with long-term income. I led the whole group out to the north pasture where the vein ran deep underground. Snow blanketed everything, but I pointed to the old drill markers, small steel pipes still in the ground. This land belonged to the Salish before my family came, I said. I won't sell unless it's protected. Dr. Lin nodded. We respect that. I laid out my additional demands. No cyanide in extraction process, avoid groundwater contamination. 100 jobs prioritized for Salish tribal members, minimum $75,000 divided by year salary. $5 million scholarship fund for Montana ranch kids. Quarterly environmental reports public on Big Sky website. Their lawyer frowned. These terms exceed industry standard. Dr. Lin raised a hand. We agree. With one condition: you sign an expanded NDA, no royalty details to third parties. We went back to the living room. Liam poured coffee for everyone. I opened the hybrid contract, red-marked the environmental clauses. You sure? Liam whispered. $200 million cash is enough to pay Ironwood and have plenty left. Enough to start, I said. But royalty feeds Madison for life. Dr. Lin smiled. We'll add a termination clause for environmental breach. You can walk any time. We signed the Memorandum of Understanding MOU right at the kitchen table with Dad's black ink pen. Dr. Lin shook my hand. We'll send the full contract in 72 hours, $200 million wired in 30 days. The Big Sky team left at 3. Liam stood in the yard watching the SUVs disappear down the dirt road. You just turned down $380 million for $200 million, he said. And $900 million in royalty over 40 years, I replied. Plus 100 jobs. Plus clean land. He nodded. Dad would be proud. That night, I called Mary Two Bears. They agreed to 100 Salish jobs, I said. She was quiet a moment. The land is smiling. 2 days later, the full contract arrived, 62 pages, tiny print. Liam and I read every line under the desk lamp. No cyanide, switch to eco-friendly brine tech. 100 jobs start Q3 2026. Scholarship fund established January 2026. I signed. Liam witnessed. 30 days later, $200 million hit the Harper Mineral Trust account. Liam used $2 million to pay Ironwood. The rest he put into a company emergency fund. I stood in the north pasture watching snow melt. $380 million wasn't the question, I whispered. The question is, what do we leave behind? 6 months passed like a Montana wind, fast, cold, and full of surprises. May 2026. Federal court in Billings sentenced Marcus Vega to 28 years for 11 counts of fraud, extortion, and conspiring to transfer sensitive technology overseas. He was cuffed in his wrinkled gray suit, screaming himself hoarse as they led him away. Clara, his ex-wife, sat in the back row, eyes dry. She sent me a card after, "Thank you for justice for 11 families." Harper Construction was no longer just a home builder. Liam turned it into green modular housing prefab units from recycled timber and low-carbon steel. Revenue up 40% in the first quarter. He hired 15 new workers, starting pay $80,000 divided by year. Building homes for Montanans, he told shareholders on Zoom, not mansions for California millionaires. I created the Harper Land Trust Irrevocable. 50% of lithium royalty, projected $12.5 million divided by year, dedicated to Montana Ranch Kid scholarships. 2,000 scholarships annually, college, trade school, or vocational. Priority for Salish tribal members and Harper Construction workers' kids. Marry 2 bears, cut the ribbon at the Bozeman Community Center. She wore traditional dress, spoke Salish first, then English. The land doesn't belong to us, we belong to the land. July. Big Sky broke ground on the lithium plant, no cyanide, eco-friendly brine tech. 100 Salish jobs filled. Average salary $85,000 divided by year. Dr. Lin emailed plant on track for Kone over 2027 completion. First royalty March. Final scene, sunset on the hill. Me, Liam and Madison, his 8-year-old, riding horses on the back hill. Madison in a pink coat, blonde pigtails, sitting in front of me on a bay mare named Daisy. Sunset bled red across the bridgers. Wind carried the scent of dry grass and pine. Madison turned eyes wide. "Aunt Emma, are we rich now?" I smiled, stroked her hair. "We're wealthy, sweetie. We have land, family, and a promise to keep." Liam rode beside us on a black gelding named Thunder. He grinned, "No more Manhattan polish. Rich is money in the bank. Wealthy is what nobody can take." Madison frowned. "Like lithium." "Like lithium," I said. "Like your dad. Like Mary. Like this land." We stopped at the hilltop. Below us, 200 acres of Harper land, green pastures, old horse barn, 120-year-old wooden house. In the distance, the Big Sky plant, rising clean, modern, but not ruining the view. Madison pointed. "Look, a rainbow." A double rainbow arched over the mountains, one end near the plant, one near Dad's grave. Liam whispered, "Dad sees this." Voice over final. My voice soft but certain. "Dad didn't leave me a house. He left me a legacy. And sometimes the greatest inheritance is the one you have to fight to deserve." We didn't sell the land. We didn't sell the family. We didn't sell the future. We kept the promise for Dad, for Madison, for Montana. And that's real wealth. Cinephile? Madison laughing, kicking her heels, galloping ahead. Liam and I following, horses thundering across the pasture. Camera rises, high panoramic view of the ranch, plant, mountains, rainbow. Text fades in Harper Land Trust, for the next 100 years. Epilogue. 1 year later. Harper Construction revenue $16.8 million. First quarter lithium royalty $3.1 million, $1.55 million to scholarships. Madison in 3rd grade, Bozeman Public School, new uniform. Liam teaches her to ride every weekend. I planted 50 more Norway pines along the pasture edge, shade for the next generation. Final scene, for real. I stand by Dad's grave, hand on the granite. Frank Harper. 1957, 2025. Loved the land. I whisper, "We did it, Dad." The wind answers soft like Dad nodding.